How did you get into coaching?
Well, I was a baseball, basketball player growing up. A lot better baseball player than I was basketball. Played very early on. Was a terrible basketball player until really my coaching career started. And I didn't realize it at the time. My sixth grade year, I became a manager for our high school, and which would be my coach and my mentor and the guy that hired me. Um, so I was a manager for sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, and I had a ball in my hand every day after school for 2 hours. And at times I practiced with the varsity as a sixth grader, and that's where I became a better basketball player. Couldn't go to chair, knew how to play, good shooter, played hard, just how I had to play. But I was a much better baseball player and enjoyed baseball a lot. But basketball was just drawn to it. It just had something about it. Had my first team. I coached my first team when I was a freshman in high school. Coached an eighth grade intramural team. Enjoyed that. And then through high school, and a couple years out of high school, me and my good friend, we coached the traveling boys team for years. Loved coaching, but I thought that was what I was going to do, be a traveling boys basketball coach for a couple years. I turned 21 in August. September that same year, my coach, my mentor, I was walking into a soccer game in my little hometown of Middletown, and he said, "Hey, are you interested in coaching the girls team, the varsity girls team?" And I was like, "Well, Coach, I've never coached girls before." He said, "It's basketball." I said, "Well, okay." So I talked to a former girls basketball coach at the time who had retired, and I decided, yeah, I'll take a shot. 21, didn't know what I wanted to do. I enjoyed coaching. I never coached girls before, but I took the job. We won our first game that year. I thought, man, this is easy, and then we promptly lost 7 in a row. So it was a wide open experience for me. I enjoyed it a lot. I was a high school coach for 11 years in my hometown where I grew up. So that was pretty special. Had the opportunity to, which never happens, and it'll never happen anymore most of the time, to be a high school coach and then leave to go to Georgia Tech and be an assistant. To be honest with you, I was at the right place at the right time. I knew the right person to get that opportunity. So I spent years at Georgia Tech, 3. I've been an assistant at Georgia Tech for 3 years. Mount St. Mary's, a small school in Maryland, for 2. I was the associate head coach at Loyola College in Maryland for 4. All assistant coaches, but I knew I wanted to be a head coach. My goal was to be a head coach at the time I was 40. I think I missed that by a year. So I had the opportunity to go take a job in Vermont. I applied for the job in March. They went through a couple other people. They didn't take the job. Finally called me almost the 1st of October. Was I interested? I called my wife. I said, "Look, never been to Vermont, didn't know any Vermont. There's a chance to be a head coach." I said, "What do you want me to do?" They were going to bring me up. And she said, "Yep, go for it." So I flew up, took the job, was there 3 years. It was a wonderful experience. Norwich University in Vermont was great for me. We had two really, really good teams, and then a third team that was young building. So I enjoyed my time there, made the NCAA tournament, top 25 ranking. They'd never made it before, so I was pretty excited about that. And then had the opportunity after my 3 years there to go to Holy Family University in Philadelphia. At the time, top 5 in the country. Their coach just left to take the job at Penn. There was a chance for my wife and I to come back home. 3 years in lovely snow, 110 inches of snow a year average. Get from in Vermont to get to Philly, to come back home to her folks and my folks, and to top 5 program in the country, top 10 in the country. I jumped at it. It was a great experience. They were there 7 years. Had some really good teams, 2 Sweet 16s. Had a chance to get to the Elite 8. Lost in overtime and missed a shot at the buzzer to win it. But great young ladies. They worked really, really hard, and my 7 years at Holy Family were great. And then had a chance, this job opened. Made some few phone calls before I decided to throw my name in. Talked to my wife. We loved the fact that it was South. I'm not going to lie, that was part of why we were interested. I love our arena. Liked where we were with scholarships and what we could try to do. And playing in the Peach Belt Conference, I thought was a big plus. So I was like, let's go for it. So I went hard. Had a few people make some calls, and I was lucky enough by Randy Warwick to offer me a job, and Dr. Jordan, and I took it, and I've been here 4 years, getting ready to start number 5. Coming down with the idea that I knew I had to kind of rebuild a little bit. A very good learning experience for a head coach who's been around a little bit. It's kind of the first job that I've had to rebuild. You don't really know what you have in front of until you get here. So I've learned a lot over the last 4 years, and I'm excited about year number 5.
So how difficult was it, going back to your first as a 21-year-old?
Yeah.
How difficult was it to coach girls at 18 years old? I mean,
very difficult for me. Like I said, I had never coached girls before in anything. But I started very quickly. I learned that it was basketball. It wasn't girls or guys. Yeah, we weren't throwing lob passes for dunks, but other than that, what else is there? What else can the guys do that the ladies can't do? I always said that we're going to be really fundamental, and if you watch women's basketball now, they're very fundamental. Guys basketball are very athletic. The great players are very fundamental, but very seldom do you see both. In the women's game, it's all about fundamentals. So I had to, weekend to just getting started in that, my first job, it was basketball. It didn't really matter, guys or girls, it was basketball, and I could teach it the same way.
When you went to the school in Vermont, you said you got the call back in October?
Yes.
And you came here as a little bit late in the year, pretty much after recruiting had been done for the year. How difficult is it to basically go in with somebody else's players and be able to coach a team, off the bat like that?
It's a challenge. It's a big challenge. I think it's easier if they've been winning. When I went to Vermont, they'd been to the NCAA tournament the year before, and I had a lot of those same players back. So I think it was a little bit easier. They've had a success. They know what it was kind of about. I think it's very difficult to come in sometimes. Not everybody agrees with how you do things. Not everybody understands why you do things, and they're used to the way things have been in the past. So I think it's a you got to step lightly, but yeah, you got to make sure everybody knows that you're making the decisions now. Most places that I've come in our moves and early on, I don't necessarily change a lot. I tweak a lot, and I felt that to be a better thing than just do a little bit at a time till you get to how you want it, and that's kind of what I've done here.
Going into your first year, you had some players that, and I'll mention right off the bat, was Carly Gilreath, who averaged maybe 2 points a game for her whole career. Didn't see the court much, and she's your starter and goes out there and does some things. Like, is that the type of thing that you're talking about? Well,
you guys know me well enough to know that if you work hard for me, I'm probably going to find a way to play you. Carly is a great example of somebody that came in and believed in what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it, and worked really, really hard to do it. She went from being a 2-guard that never had to handle the ball and playing sparingly to somebody who had the ball in her hand 75% of the time, and I could never get her off the court. So she bought in, and I think that's why she had a ton of success her senior year. She bought into what I was trying to do. She played hard, and she did the best she could. And as a coach, that's all you can ask for. So her and Jazz Coach that first year. Jazz Coach was an undersized post player that would take a charge on a truck, and she knew what her role was, and that's why they had 2 great senior years.
Now that you start to have your own team, is it what's the vision for you and your team moving forward?
Well, I think we've done that from day one to now. But now that they're all our players that we've recruited and we've spent a lot of time with, and they have more bought into what we're trying to do and how we want to play and the commitment that you have to have here. I'm not okay being 500. That's not mediocre and good enough for me. So I expect us to do better, to work harder, to be more successful, to make the game important. I get that academics are the number one priority, and I'm all for that. But, basketball's got to be an important part. It's an important part of my life. And I didn't come here to be mediocre. I didn't come here to not have a chance to win the Peach Belt Conference tournament and get in the NCAA tournament. I tell my kids all the time, I've been to the NCAA tournament. It's not about me going again. It's about them experiencing the excitement, whether you're D1, D2, it doesn't matter. D3, it's all the excitement of the NCAA tournament and playing in it is what I'm all about. I want to win the Peach Belt. Yeah, when you win the Peach Belt, you're automatically going. That's one way to tell. But I want our team and our program to year in and year out have an opportunity to play in the NCAA tournament and win a Peach Belt Conference tournament as well.
And, you talked about the Convocation Center, which you go to several schools, and we have several schools in the region that have, great facilities. But did you think this is a big recruiting tool,
It is. It's a huge recruiting tool. I think when it recruited me. It had a big part to do with why I wanted to come down here. When you come in and you see our facility and when you play here, everybody, oh yeah, we get a lot of great fans, and oh okay, well, we're going to get a little bit of fans in here, and then you come into a game, and the place is pretty well packed night in and night out. On a normal basis, you get Lander, Augusta, it's even bigger. But on a normal basis, you get a great crowd, and it's a great atmosphere. And, whether you play, I've been at the big time. I've been at Georgia Tech where you're in a big arena and there's 300 people in there and you don't even know they're there. Here we got a great size. We get bigger than 300. It's a great atmosphere. So we sell this a lot. I try to, there's not a whole lot of Division II programs in our conference or around the world that have what we have. So I definitely sell the piece of our arena.
Give me one or two of your top moments you've had since you've been here at USC Aiken.
The Lander game last year has to go down. Probably, and I said this right after, it's probably, for me in my career, one of the all-time great regular season wins. Just because of the adversity that we were going through at the time and how our kids played. So I think that was a special time. It's even more special than, I've beaten top 3 teams, top 4 teams in the country, and that's special, but dealing with adversity and handling it and seeing kids, young ladies step up in a situation that there had nobody in the building around that had any idea of what we've been through and gave us no chance to win. And the fact see their faces afterwards was a pretty special moment. So I think that's probably the one that stands out the most. I'm looking forward to the time when we can celebrate an NCAA, tournament appearance. I feel we're making progress to that, and that'll be a big day for those players. And I'll enjoy seeing how they react to that because, for me, we're going to make it a big deal. And like I said, we've been there, done that. And every year you've done it, it's a cool thing for those young ladies, and that's my next big thing.
Is it difficult to sit there and try to tell someone how special it is who hasn't been there before?
It is. It's extremely difficult to explain the whole feeling about it. When you win and you can see their faces. I've been to 5 or 6, whatever it's been. Half of them have been after a conference championship game win, which is a cool thing. But I've had 2 that we were in a large bids. And pretty confident that we were getting in, didn't know anything else. But again, seeing faces and knowing how hard you work to get to that and then have an opportunity. Here you get, your top 4 team in the Peach Belt Conference, you have a chance to go a long way because of how good our conference is. And that's what I try to sell. We want to be in the top 4 because then we got a chance. You get in anything NCAA tournament, anything can happen. I've been the number 1 seed and gone a long way. I've been the number 8 in the region, didn't have a chance to win. I'm playing on the number 1's home court and winning, big upset. So I've been on both. and had the heartbreak of losing. When you had a chance to win to get to the Elite Eight, and with a really really good team. So I've experienced it all, but I want the young ladies to have that opportunity because that's really special.
Your son, Tyler, is now student assistant on the staff. How is that to be able to work with him, hand in hand?
Well, it's funny. We've talked about it for years and years and years, and until he got a little bit of confidence and found that would help his resume moving forward, he agreed. And I've said it for years. He's a young man who he's very knowledgeable about sports, baseball, basketball. Very knowledgeable, knows how the game should be played. Just doesn't have the confidence to know how to teach it. And frankly, when I was 21 and young, I didn't have the confidence either. I knew I had to, so I just went with it. For him, he's learning, but he's in a game or in practice, he's always in my ear. Yeah, hey, what about this? Hey, what about this? What about that? And they're all really good suggestions. Some I take, some I don't take, but he has such a good feel for it that I welcome his input. The fact that he's your son that you get to hang with every single day and be part of what you're trying to build, and that makes it special. For him and I, it's a way that we get to bond some more. We don't always agree at practice or a game, and he knows and I know, but it's part of what we do. So I think we both like it. We like the competition of it. We like to run things by each other. It's probably not a night goes by after practice or really right now after work as we're getting ready for practice that we don't talk something about our team and what's going on.
And do you think, moving forward, say 10 years down the road when he's, getting close to 30 years old and you're a little bit older, that you'll sit back and reflect on time where not many fathers get a chance to work with their sons, during their college days?
Yeah, I hope that what he takes from this is how to deal with situations. I think he's going to be a young man that's going to be doing something in athletics somewhere, whether it's professional or collegiate. And I hope he's learned something from me with how to deal with certain situations that come up. So I can see him in 30 years when he's, doing something and getting that call, hey, I got to run something by you. How would you? And me being how I am, here it is. Here's my opinion. And he obviously in that time would have to make his own decision, but I think that's a cool thing. I think that's, if you'd asked him, if he was honest with you, that'd be something he would tell you that he's learned quite a bit about. It's not always as black as white as you hoped it would be, but that it's out there.
So you've already dropped quite a few locations as you're talking through all this. What's it been like to move around to take that journey?
Well, expensive, exciting. Let's see, I've been from a small town in Maryland to Atlanta, from Atlanta to Baltimore. In between all that, I had two little small stops back in Maryland at Mount St. Mary's. From the Mount to Vermont, from Vermont to Philly, from Philly to Aiken. I still call home Middletown, Maryland. I'll always be home. But it's been a challenge. I've been fortunate with a wife and two kids that they have been beside me and oftentimes pushing me to go for these jobs and these opportunities, and my wife giving me, yep, let's go get it. So I've been fortunate with that. This doesn't happen if it's not okay with those three. So it's been a big part of our, we've seen a lot. We've been a lot of places. We've enjoyed it. When I took this job, my plan is and hope is that this is my last job. Part of it's why it's in the South. I'm okay with the heat. I'm done with the snow, to be honest. But for us, it's been exciting. It's been fun. We've met a lot of people on the way. We've left some behind too. But it's part of the business, and I knew that very early on. Before my wife and I got married, we had that conversation that, look, if I'm going to do this the way I want to do it, we're going to bounce around a while. and she was okay with it. And so it's made my life a lot easier because of her.
What made you fall in love with basketball?
Well, I can remember as a seventh grader in band class with a good friend and drawing up plays. I think that was a big part of it, the competition, the strategy. But I also, as a sixth grader, had the opportunity to be in front of, 3 or 4 mentors of mine that had a huge influence in my life. And seeing how they did things, and some of the stuff that I do now is exactly what I learned as a sixth grader, and that's been a long, long time ago. So I think that had a big part of it. I loved playing baseball. I loved working at it, but I really spent a lot of time as a player working on my game because I wasn't very good at the time. So I enjoyed that, and I kind of taken the hard work philosophy as a player and have turned it into my coaching style. So I think the strategy part of it, and 3 of my close mentors were all basketball coaches. So I'm sure that had a lot to do with it.
Give us some Baltimore trivia that no one else really knows around here.
The only person to win the MVP in both leagues, Frank Robinson. 1966 Cincinnati Reds, if I'm not mistaken, 1970 Baltimore Orioles. That's the one. 4 pitchers to win 20 games, and each hit a home run in the same season. I know everybody's going to say, oh, it's the Braves. Well, the difference is the Braves had 4 20-game winners, but they all didn't hit a home run. For the Orioles, Jim Palmer, Dave McNally, Mike Cuellar, Pat Dobson, all each won 20 games and hit a home run. This is not trivia, but my first idol was Mark Blanchard, who was his nickname, the Blade. Remember, I was 6 foot, 110 pounds soaking wet as a 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old, one of my favorite players. My all-time favorite oil, Cal Ripken. You can't go wrong with the Blade and Brooks Robinson, a close second and third. Other trivia. For all the Atlanta Braves fans down here, I think, and Brent, you can check me on this, I think Bobby Cox beat Earl Weaver's record for getting thrown out the most games ever. So, back in the good old days with Earl Weaver, that's a big part for me. But I'm a big-time Orioles fan. I know for years, I was around when they were good, and that made me love baseball. I was around in '83 when they beat the Phils, and Cal Ripken was his second year, and he was the MVP winner that year after winning Rookie of the Year in '82, and they lost in '82 at the last game of the year, trying to sweep the Milwaukee Brewers. But I've way back since I can remember. That's the part I haven't gotten Major League Baseball channel yet, but one of these days I can watch the Orioles games every night. It'll be great, but I'm waiting for them to get better.
Good deal. We could talk sports all day long.
Yeah,
I'll
yes we
that
could.
one.
Yes we could.
I appreciate
You
it.
good?
Yeah, we're good.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, sir.
Make me look good, Cody. All of us old guys. Ike and Carlisle and Jim and Tim, you guys are young.